with storms worsening as manifestations of an imbalanced ecosystem leading to climate change. Rebalancing nature by regenerating upland forests, urban greens, mangrove wetlands, seagrass meadows, and coral reefs is now more imperative than ever. What is needed is a massive effort of human intervention on a commercial scale, or industrialized regreening with the erection of public football parks with coastal shelters that should come hand in hand with the government's Build Better More program. While a few covered courts in this basketball-deranged country have horribly failed to deliver as reliable calamity shelters right when they are needed the most, football would now be more than welcome to step in to have a positive social impact. Highly populated coastal communities with inadequate land available are in dire need of sustainably innovative infrastructure that can possibly address global challenges such as climate change. And this is where our unique design proposal comes in, to contribute tangibly to moving closer to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. In line with this, we humbly present our proposal for Coastal Football Parks for Peace by architect Jericho Adriano. This Filipino architect is seeking to help bring sustainable peace and progress to ecologically vulnerable coastal areas by proposing for the development of coastal football shelter parks for peace and progress, designed for inter-island transport, commerce, urban farming, ocean farming, and football. Promoting travel, trade, tourism, progress, culture, sports, friendship, and peace, through a hyper-functional structure that serves as a sports amenity park attraction for grassroots football that doubles as a disaster relief shelter for vulnerable communities whenever needed, as a multimodal transit port for inter-island mobility and accessibility, as a trading hub for commercial viability and progress, as a jetty for docking sea vessels, as a wave attenuator to protect the harbor, and as an engineered biological haven for regenerating land and marine ecosystems on its very structure. A multifunctional coastal football park with seaport facilities, market spaces, and play courts, sheltered by a fortified storm-proof green roof, sized just enough to fit a FIFA-accredited regulation football pitch with regenerative urban farms and tree forests around its perimeter, all supported on water by structural piers that are bioengineered to nurture the most vitally critical environmental elements of the ecosystem. Maintaining a perfectly flat and level turf field is best done on a concrete slab to prevent erosion and potholes, but elevating this to become a disaster-resilient green roof instead would be even better, maximizing its sheltered roof cover, regreened footprint, functional utility, amenity offerings, and overall community benefit, but minimizing its ecological footprint and erection cost by reducing pillar count and excavations and leaving more ground space on the sides for even more regreening. An inverted pyramidal prism that echoes the Philippine flag, or the Philippine eagle, or the dove of peace, with Ifugao Banawe-inspired planted terraces connecting the roof gardens to the street, elevating the global sport of football above other sports as it should be, but connecting the game to the common streets, ensuring that football will always be accessible to everyone. A meaningfully iconic form that regenerates more regreen spaces than its own footprint. The one low-rise structure to bring ecological balance, prosperity, football, and peace to every coastal community. With a turf-pitched roof that will never fly off with the storm winds. Pioneering the transcendence of purposeful architecture beyond ground limitations by regreening on land, on roofs, on water, and underwater. Tasking football architecture to regrow. Urban farms and forests on roof decks, seaweed forests below deck, protected mangroves at water level, clams and oysters on structural piers, seagrass meadows on the seafloor, and coral gardens underwater. Rebalancing the ecosystem through football fields, by encouraging plants and trees to do their fundamentally critical jobs of healing our ecosystems on every architectural opportunity, by maximizing green roofs for both football and nature, regrowing indigenous food forests and regulating stormwater runoff, by creating a net gain on habitable floor area for nature on every deployment of this football facility, asking nature to protect us from nature by growing forests on green roof decks to avoid hot, rust-prone, wind-susceptible metal roofing, to prolong roof life from rust, UV radiation, and rot, to withstand storms and whirlwinds, to survive ashfall, hail, and earthquakes, to keep cool and comfortable even on hot and sunny days, to maximize much-needed greeneries, while offering localized food security at source, to elevate commercial attraction and viability, to enhance amenity value, to expand income possibilities, to amplify the project's property value, to increase biodiversity, to improve stormwater retention and drainage, and to function as a tourist and football destination in itself instead of a mere transit gateway. The forest is there to complete a circular economy of recycling in-house organic waste. The design features a FIFA-accredited outdoor turf field that also serves as picnic gardens, scouts campsite, and disaster relief sheltering grounds. With bleachers for players, spectators, and transient commuters waiting for their rides. To maximize functional usage of the stormproof green roof and to regularly attract more foot traffic, customers, and business for tenants even from non-travelers. For grassroots sports development on every possible deployment, to promote sports tourism through inter-island tournaments, and to advocate for regional peace, understanding, interaction and cooperation through sports. Covered with a safety shade net enclosure, to prevent plastics and litter from flying off to sea, to keep people safe, to provide partial shade for players and spectators during the hottest times of the day, and to keep stray balls from getting lost. A covered multimodal transit station pampers commuters, traders, travelers, and tourists with waiting lounges, ticketing concourses, market stores, retail options, showers, bikers' lockers, multi-purpose covered courts, and audience bleachers tracing the inclined skin of the inverse prism, doubling as passenger waiting benches, or as calamity shelters and bunk beds as needed, while an overlooking multifunctional mezzanine serves as a flexible jogging oval, retail loop, exhibition gallery, football museum, or additional calamity shelter, ensuring everyone's smooth transition from team buses, jeepneys, cars, tricycles, and bikes to other island destinations near and far on bancas, boats, ferries, cruise liners, yachts, hovercrafts, and seaplanes. Or perhaps even with future forms of sea travel like scenic glass-bottomed boats, coral viewing research tourism submarines, unmanned drones, or ground effect vehicles, offering even more choices as a cable car station for crossing lakes, connecting nearby islands, or traversing lengthy shores between adjacent cities. Involving patrons in our common quest for a balanced ecosystem by offering travelers multiple options for lowering their journey's carbon footprint and supporting more sustainable alternatives to travel. Innovatively delivering countless inexpensive seaplane landing strips on water to every island, lake, and coastal destination without having to clear and pave a single kilometer of runway anywhere. Marking seaplane landing strips as protected marine sanctuaries, flanked by floating solar panel arrays, and guarded by tended floating fish, oyster, pearl, and ocean farms. Utilizing the landing strip buoys and farms as wave attenuators to help protect the nearby shores. Sparing vast tracts of forested lands around the archipelago from being cleared just for remote airport or sports park development. Building respectfully on stilts above water for disaster resilience, allowing attenuated waves to flow through, instead of resisting insurmountable tides in vain. Innovating on how the Bajaws have been doing it for centuries, while capitalizing on evolved marine building technologies for rebalancing our critical coastal ecosystems. With football presenting a cheaper, faster, and sustainably better way for coastal development, without the dredging costs, without the shoring costs, without the infilling costs, without wiping out the corals, without burying the seagrass, without chopping off the mangroves, without further contributing to sea level rise, and benefiting from everything saved in terms of money, resources, labor, time, and the preserved ecosystem. Protecting critical coastal areas from wave bombardment, soil erosion, habitat degradation, flooding, landslides, overnitrification, deoxygenation, and human land clearing. Shading the waters below with structures, docks, and floating solar panel arrays. To cool its rising temperatures, to prevent algal blooms, and to offer colder marine havens and sanctuaries ideal for spawning and breeding. Building on water, instead of on land. To cradle as many marine habitats, spawning grounds, hatcheries, nurseries, and gardens of mangrove, seagrass, and coral as possible, on each and every one of its bioengineered bracings, forming critical disaster-resilient seawater forests right where it is needed the most. Aquascaping the denuded seabeds to revitalize essential fish habitat where aquatic life can spawn, breed, and feed, to grow and multiply. Employing mangroves, corals, oysters, seagrass, and seaweeds to clean up our coastal mess, and to survive juveniles from adult fish predation. replanting on the sea with every structural member we submerge, ultimately building for the benefit of both man and nature. Utilizing the massive labor force of construction workers to build piles, piers, and docks that are designed to dually function as engineered structural supports and as man-made fortified cradles of marine life, nursing and regenerating our damaged and ailing marine ecosystems on a more ambitious and substantially massive scale, valuing mangroves as both abundant resources, environmental heroes, and tourist attractions, rather than developmental hindrances or operational obstacles managed by fish net barriers. Establishing biodiverse water filtration colonies through vertical ocean farms and pearl farms cultivating oysters, clams, kelp, and seaweed, all secured on structural members, under floating docks, below fish farm cages, with safety buoys, and under arrays of floating solar panels. For cleaner swimmable waters, healthier marine life, and sustainably abundant marine harvests. Attenuating ocean waves and sea currents to protect us, our homes, our bankas, and our communities from storm surges and tsunamis. And helping mitigate coastline erosion. Nursing and rebuilding coral reefs back to life with a little help from more people and the football community. Elevating coral gardening onto a more substantial infra-wide scale to bolster its effectiveness. Because corals and mangroves will be unable to recover without human resolve, intervention, and collective involvement. Implementing this solution at this scale and magnitude would only be feasible through a proportionately sizable investment and infrastructure, with worthwhile ROI from terminal fees, docking fees, handling fees, retail, rent, field and play court rent, coaching or training fees, equipment rental, entertainment, roof farm plot rent, roof farm care fees, parking, refueling, and renewable power generation. With additional income from the ocean farming and trading of fish, crabs, eel, shrimp, clams, mussels, oysters, pearls, urchins, squid, seaweeds, and anything else that our bountiful oceans offer. A commercially viable way to advance football and save the planet that any investor would be happy to bet on. With constant returns, low operating costs, noble intentions, and averted land availability challenges. Reproducible on so many coastal areas in need, on our archipelago of paradise-like islands. Implementable on mostly untitled, undisputed coastal fringes. Without needing to repurchase land, compensate for right-of-way reacquisition, flatten forests, nor clear out informal settlers. Positively advancing football, transport, travel, tourism, trade, progress, cultural exchange, grassroots sports development, competition, peace, and prosperity for all. Without having to wait endlessly for bridges or airports to be built for each of our 7,100 islands. No coast or island is undeserving of this iconic football solution and the benefits it brings. Whether it be in Manila Bay, Laguna Lake, Dumaguete, Siargao, Palawan, Pangasinan, Zamboanga, Baseco, Lake Lano, Ormoc, Naga, Sarangani, Mindoro, Masbate, Alabat, Jolo. The Quezon Memorial Circle, or even in other nations across the oceans such as Israel and our neighbors in the AFC. This regenerative project template on bioengineered stilts can just be the most environmentally beneficial large-scale development man can do for the planet. A development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. A solution that can potentially solve socialized housing, urban sprawl, and poverty as well. Addressing multiple issues with one integrated design solution for common issues of land scarcity for football parks and community amenities, grass maintenance and irrigation, leveled ground stability under turf fields, commercial viability, ecologically damaging land reclamation. Disaster resilience, public amenity, metal-roofed eyesores, storm water retention, local employment, litter prevention, rot, salinity, rust, wind, rain, and sun. And even to deep-rooted complex issues on sustainability, social benefit, stakeholder acceptance, waste management, environmental impact, food security, opportunity inclusivity, sports development, and tourism for every community served. This initiative can be realized through a combination of government projects, FIFA and AFC support, private sector investments, and even through crowdfunding, where every donor's contribution can be forever acknowledged in stone, etched on the ornamental wing details adorning the side arch openings. A disaster-resilient structure designed by architect Jericho Adriano. to save and shelter lives, biodiversity, and the environment, especially during climate disturbances, when vulnerable football communities need it the most. Appeasing nature to protect us from the wrath of nature. By returning to nature the footprints that our structures borrowed from nature, while bringing hope, protection, pride, trade, tourism, abundance, peace, security, health, fitness, competitiveness, excellence, and happiness to the locality, with proper execution and replication to vulnerable coastal sites across the country, and even possibly beyond across the globe. We hope this simple idea by architect Jericho Adriano can somehow help in saving the planet through football in its own small way. How would you like this football project to be part of your legacy for the future generations? Thank you for your time and attention, and we look forward to seeing this architect's vision transform into reality with your support.